I'm excited to share my latest book haul from my favorite book website, Living Book Press. Hi, I'm Jenny with Kids Learning for Life, and the number one thing that I probably spend way too much money on is books. Like I said, my favorite place to buy books from is Living Book Press, so I really wanted to show you some of the things that I have bought from there recently so that maybe you could use some of these for your own homeschool. I have them here in a random order, so I'm just going to start with what's on the top of my pile, which is the Burgess Animal Book for Children. This is by Thornton W. Burgess. My kids love these stories. He has so many. They're all on LibriVox for free to listen to if you're interested in that. And this book is so cute. It's the cutest edition of this book that I've seen. There's all sorts of pictures of animals inside, and obviously the cover is really cute. And yeah, so this is like for a science requirement, I guess, for Ambleside Online Readings, which is a free Charlotte Mason curriculum available online. But it's not like super in-depth science. It's just animal stories that are kind of fun, and they do teach the relationships of different animals to each other or different characteristics of different kinds of animals. So this is a great one just to gently introduce science concepts to your kids. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And I want to make it clear, I have not read all of these yet, so I don't necessarily know a ton about a lot of them, but these are all books that I've heard really great things about. So one of them is Understood Betsy. This was actually recommended to me by Anthony Cofield, who is the founder of Living Book Press. He was kind enough to give me a book recommendation, and this is one he said I would love. He said that it's good for boys, girls, pretty much anyone. It should strike a chord with most people, and I'm really excited to read this one. And I know it is on the Ambleside Online book list, which I cannot believe I've never read this before, not even when I was a kid. So I'm really excited to do this as a read aloud with my own kids. Okay, let's see what's next. Ooh, this is what I'm excited about. The Iliad for boys and girls. All these Greek stories are things that, it's kind of a blind spot in my reading life. I haven't really read the Odyssey, I haven't read the Iliad, so I'm excited to read this one. And I got this version for boys and girls because in this capacity, I am kind of just a girl learning about these things. So my kids and I will be reading all these old Greek stories together, kind of for the first time together. And don't you just love how all these Living Book Press books look? They are so beautiful. And I also like the spine as well. They all have the same kind of spine design. It was really easy when getting ready to make this video because I could easily find them on my bookshelf. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next one. Lad, a Dog. Oh my gosh, this is one of my oldest daughter's favorite books to listen to in audiobook form, so I figured it would be a fun thing to have in print, and it's a pretty long book. It's kind of, the way I describe this book, if you've never read it or heard of it, is it's kind of like Black Beauty, but from the perspective of a dog. So it's all being told from a dog's point of view and kind of chronicling the life of this dog and the other dogs it meets, the humans it meets, and its own life stories. So this is a really beautiful story, and I'm excited for her to one day maybe be able to read this on her own. She's not there quite yet. This is a very long book, and there are actually no pictures in this one, which is interesting. But it's just such a good story, so I'm excited for her to read this one on her own one day. All right, let's add that to that pile. We have here Otto of the Silver Hand. So I know nothing about this book, and that's being completely serious. I saw that it's on the Ambleside Online Readings, I believe for year 2, which is coming up for us, and this is by Howard Pyle. So he does retellings of like Robin Hood and King Arthur, all these things, and I love those books. I love those retellings that he does. They're so beautiful. So I'm excited about this. Like I said, I don't know anything about it, but this also is not a very long book. Oh, there's lots of pictures in this one. That's pretty cool. But this seems something that's like right up our alley because we love King Arthur stuff. So I'm excited to read Otto of the Silver Hand. Okay. And, oh, here we have another one I'm really excited to read. Obviously, I'm excited to read all of these, but some of them, I'm very excited to read, and other ones I'm just excited to read. So, do with that what you will with that scale. So this is The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. This is one that's been recommended to me by one of my friends. She and I had read Fantasties by George MacDonald. We read that one together, and George MacDonald is one of these authors that is just so influential for so many other authors, whether it's C.S. Lewis, Tolkien, Chesterton, all these people. So The Princess and the Goblin is actually one of George MacDonald's books for children. Unlike Fantasties, which is more designed for adults, This one I hear is very, very different from Fantastes, but really great, and I hear that kids just love it. So I love a good fairy tale. I love anything by George MacDonald, so I am super excited for this one. This one's also kind of long. It's broken up by kind of manageable chapters, and there are some pictures. And this one, I was so excited to see that Living Book Press had this because I was not expecting to see it there, but I'm excited. Let's see what's next. Oh, home geography. I did a video on this book because I love it so much. This is basically like a little tiny simple geography curriculum in this wonderful, beautiful book. It's a very simple book and it kind of teaches geography and science concepts. Lesson by lesson, chapter by chapter, but the lessons are super short. The chapters are really manageable. You're not gonna have kids get burned out. They're gonna wanna ask for more after you're done with one chapter at a time. And we've only done a few, we're like less than halfway through this book, but this one is, I mean, there's so much more to get to. There are poems, there are so many beautiful pictures in this book. Towards the end, you get into more science things like plants and animals and raising animals and the seasons. So I am just in love with this book. I actually bought Stacey a copy of it recently because I was just like, you have to have this book on your bookshelf. So yeah, I recommend this to anyone, even if you're not really looking to do a geography curriculum in your homeschool. It's just a really fun read aloud. Like I said, it's manageable, it's easy, and it's just so beautiful. Okay, that's enough about home geography. If you want more information, I will link to my video all about this book in the description below. Let's see what's next. Ooh, Viking Tales by Jenny Hall. It's funny, my kids are right here watching me make this video, so I have an audience today, and one of my daughters was like, ooh, I want to read Viking Tales. So yeah, this is really cool. This is also another Ambleside Online book. The vast majority of these are Ambleside Online books, so if you're interested in Ambleside Online, I will link to their website below. I will also link to my video review of Ambleside Online below in the description. But Viking Tales, this looks really interesting. And this is another thing I don't really know a ton about. But these pages are so cool. All these illustrations and also these, I feel like the way that it's formatted is really just user-friendly to kids, because this one actually does have slightly bigger words than like Lad a Dog, which is a massive novel. So this is one that maybe, you know, obviously you want to do a lot of read alouds with your kids, but this one seems a little bit more accessible if you do have a child that wants to read a little bit more independently. So this is coming up in Ambleside Online. I believe this is also a year 2 book for Ambleside Online. So I'm excited to dive into this one as well. How many times am I going to say excited in one video? Okay, here's another book. This one I kind of took a gamble on. I wasn't quite sure what I was gonna do with it really, but this is Story Lives of Master Musicians. And I've been wanting to do artist study and composer study because I do plan on following more of the Ambleside Online schedule this upcoming year. So I figured maybe having some sort of book like this about composers, and you know, there's a different composer in each chapter, I believe. I think that might make it a little easier for me to be able to incorporate composer study, because it's also something I don't really know a ton about. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna buy the book and I see where we go from there. But from what I've seen from this book, I think it'll be really cool to use in our homeschool. Because like I said, I wanna learn more about all these famous figures in history, in art, and all that stuff. So yeah, this one is great, and it has about 8, oh wow, actually this has a ton of different composers. It has 25 chapters, so each of those is a different composer. So very in-depth. It's a long book, but if you break it up chapter by chapter, I'm sure it's manageable. Oh my goodness, I am on my last book, and this is another one that I have done a whole video on. This is My Book of Centuries. This is another book that I had to buy a copy of for Stacey because I was like, you have to have a Book of Centuries in your homeschool. I don't understand how people don't do this. It is so fun to just bring this out every time you do a history lesson and then fill in the dates for different historical events, and then you can kind of look at them in a physical representation of how far away different things happened or when certain things were happening all at the same time. I think that's really fun and interesting. So this is our family Book of Centuries, and this one is printed by Living Book Press. There's another version on Living Book Press as well. So like I said, some of these, there's like multiple options. There's different versions of different books. So you can always look on there for variations. But this is the one I chose, and yeah, like you'll see more towards the end actually. We filled in certain things. Let's see, I'm choosing all these blank pages. I promised you we're filling this in. Oh, there we go. Like Shakespeare's birth, that's a good one. So we're slowly inputting things into here as we read our island story and we read other history books, but this is a must in any homeschool, is a book of centuries. It's not even extra work for you really. Just incorporate it into your pre-existing history lessons, and it's super easy and it's super fun to refer to later. So I highly recommend getting a book of centuries from Living Book Press. And like I just mentioned with this, we do use other Amplify Online books that I had bought previous to even learning about Living Book Press, which I really regret now because they're not as beautiful as the ones that Living Book Press does. So those are like Our Island Story, we have This Country of Ours, all these history books that I had bought because I was so excited to get them, but then I hadn't heard about the best source, which is Living Book Press, which is unfortunate. So for any of these books, if you're using Amplify Online or not, Living Book Press definitely has the best versions of these books. So really quick, just to compare the quality of Living Book Press versus these other free domain printings, I want to show you an example of one that is not so beautiful. So this is The White Company by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He's actually the author of the Sherlock Holmes series, but he also did a bunch of historical fiction, and this one takes place in the Middle Ages. So look at this. Like, first of all, this size is really awkward. Like a normal novel is like this size, which is comfortable, but this one is massive. It's like almost 8.5 by 11 size. And if you look here, there are no margins and the words are tiny. So like when I'm reading this, I love this book and I'm really enjoying it, but when I'm reading it, it takes me like an hour just to get through like a spread like this, right? So that's what you'll find a lot of times when you're buying these books that just anyone can kind of publish. But when you look at something by Living Book Press, it's way better. So this is Understood Betsy. So the words are big, so you can actually see them. There are not too many on each page. Obviously, he has really cute illustrations in here, which these other ones really hardly ever do. And this is a way better size. And then, like, I want to kind of show you in, let's see, Otto of the Silver Hand. This one too. I mean, way more accessible, way easier to read, way easier to hold on to and enjoy while you're reading it. Because I'll be honest, I'm not enjoying reading this copy of The White Company just because it's so uncomfortable to hold and like focus in on the words. I mean, they are microscopic. That's why I always recommend Living Book Press to people, because these are just the best formatted and most user-friendly living books that are from the free domain that I have ever been able to find. So I will make sure to link to the Living Book Press website below in the description, and I will also link to all of the books that I have purchased from there so that you can take a look at them for yourself. If you want a more definitive guide to what living books are and how you can use them in your homeschool, I have created a video all about living books, so I will link to that over here for you to check out. See you next time, and happy homeschooling!